Lies. A Draco X Reader fan fiction on Wattpad by Draco X Readers. Chapter 2. Don't Talk Near Malfoy. When you came out of the bathroom, the entire train was empty. You couldn't believe this. You quickly picked up your bag. You hurried out of the train. You stepped onto the platform of the station. It was dark outside. There were a few lights that lit up the station. There were a few small benches. You never knew why they were there. It's not as if people would ever sit on them. You never had to wait for the train. You looked to the side and saw Draco leave the train. His face was only partly lit up because of the moon and the dim light. His almost white hair was shining in the light. He was wearing a black suit. It looked pretty fancy. In his hand, he had a small suitcase. Draco turned his head to you. His silver eyes looked into yours for a moment. They twinkled in the light. Even though his face was darkened, his almost silver eyes stood out, like you couldn't look away from them. He smirked shortly and then walked away. You had to follow him. You had no choice. You had to go to Hogwarts, too. You didn't want to interact with him. You sighed and stayed a few steps behind him. It was a short walk towards the gate. Professor Flitwick was standing in the distance. You were surrounded by forest. You knew the last carriages left. You had to walk all the way to Hogwarts, through the forest in the dark. Just great. Name? Professor Flitwick asked. Come on, don't tell me you don't know who I am, Draco spat. Draco was very cocky. You should understand that it's basic school rule is to state your name when you miss the carriages. You crossed your arms and sighed while waiting for Draco to just say his name. That's the rules, so name, please. Draco Lucius Malfoy, he sighed. All right, go on. Draco continued walking. You watched him walk towards the suitcases. Name? You state your name. All right. You followed Draco. All the bags were getting checked. What's this, a weapon? A man said. That's a walking stick, you idiot. Draco spoke while pulling it from the man's hand. Who takes a walking stick to school? Does he even need it? Is he able to walk? Was he injured? It can be used as a weapon, the man said again. I can vouch for Mr. Malfoy, Snape spoke. Draco pushed the stick back into the suitcase and grabbed his bag. Why was Snape vouching for him? So many questions. Nice face, Potter, Draco spat. Draco smirked. You turned around and saw Harry. His nose was clearly broken, bleeding badly. Luna was there with him. What happened to him? What did he do this time? Your bags are okay, the man said. Draco walked into the forest with Snape. You followed them. It was dark in the forest. You grabbed your wand and used Loomis. You had to because you didn't see anything. Oh, shut it, I was helping you, you heard Snape say. You looked at Draco, who tried his best to avoid talking to Snape. He seemed irritated, almost angry. Snape helped in to get that walking stick in for whatever reason he needed it. I don't need your help. How many times do I have to tell you? Draco hissed while stopping. You couldn't help but look and listen. You slowly came closer to the two. You had to. They were in the middle of the path. You looked back and saw Harry and Luna in the distance. Then you looked back at Snape and Draco, who were whispering. Draco looked up. What are you looking at? He sneered while you walked past them. You immediately looked away and ignored him. You still didn't want to talk to him. It was unnecessary and would only lead to him getting pissed off. Not that he was ever happy anyway. Are you deaf? I asked you something, he continued. Let it go, Mr. Malfoy, Snape said. Piss off. He pushed past Snape and continued walking. Snape didn't even try to walk back to him. Talking with Draco seemed tiring to you. That's why you didn't ever bother trying. You kept walking, hearing Draco's footsteps behind you as the branches under his shoes broke. You looked around. You had no idea how long this walk was going to be. A cold wind blew through your hair. You got a better hold of your wand and used it to light the path. Suddenly, someone grabbed your wrist. The grip was strong. This person clearly had pretty big hands. You turned around immediately and pushed your wand forwards. Then you saw Draco's face. Your wand was against his neck. The light from the tip gave his face a creepy shadow. He looked a bit startled, but he managed to get his face back to his cocky self. Don't touch me, you hissed before lowering your wand and walking away. So first you ignore me, Draco Malfoy, then you decide it's fun to push your wand against my throat, Draco hissed while following you. You didn't answer. You didn't want to. You shouldn't have said anything in the first place. You kept walking. your walking pace and didn't think about opening your mouth to tell him to let it go. Draco clearly thought it was necessary to speak to you. His temper had to be satisfied by getting angry at someone, and you were that person. Draco passed you and stopped in front of you. You had to stop so you wouldn't bump against him. You looked straight into his eyes again. Well, straight. Draco was taller than you, so you had to look up a bit. Do you think this is funny? Is this a game to you? He asked. No, you simply said to him while trying to walk past him. When you finally could, you continued walking. Don't walk away, he hissed. You couldn't take this. You turned around and looked at him. What do you want from me? Are you that desperate to talk to a girl? If you're that awesome, then go bother other people. Leave me alone, you almost yelled. A small smirk appeared on Draco's face. You didn't know why. Feisty, did I piss you off? He asked. You're just annoying, you hissed and pushed him aside. Draco grabbed your wrist. You stopped and shot a look at him. I'd watch out if I were you, he snapped. You looked at him in shock. You didn't know why he knew your name. I'd watch out if I were you. Sorry. I'd watch out if I were you. Your last name here, he snapped. You looked at him in shock. You didn't know why he knew your name. He let you go and walked away with an amused smile on his face. There was no way he could know your name. Teacher never asked you to answer a question. You were very quiet. Harry, Ron, and Hermione never actually said your name while Draco was near. This couldn't be happening. Was he stalking you? No way. Draco Malfoy couldn't be stalking you. If that was true, you'd definitely notice. His hair was unmissable. You'd see him everywhere. You quickly continued walking. Draco was out of sight. You had been so confused that you stood still for a few minutes. You heard Luna and Harry behind you. Hey, your name here. Are you okay? You turned and smiled. Better than you. Are you okay? You asked him. It's nothing, he said. Luna fixed it. Luna Lovegood, often referred to as Loony Lovegood. You didn't think she was crazy. She just wasn't like the others. But she was sweet and caring, not ugly. She had long blonde and beautiful blue eyes. Long blonde hair and beautiful blue eyes. That's sweet of you, Luna, you smiled. I couldn't leave him with a broken nose, she just said. You sighed and saw Hogwarts in the distance. You were almost there. You never missed the carriages in your life. It was cold, but the walk wasn't bad. You were happy that you were almost there. You were hungry, and the food at Hogwarts was the best. The more you thought about it, the more hungry you became. What did Malfoy want from you? He never talks to you, Harry said. He was pissed off, and I accidentally looked at him. It was enough to piss him off more. You replied. Everything is enough to piss him off, Harry said. I noticed. Note to self, don't look at Draco Malfoy. You said. Don't breathe near Draco Malfoy, Harry added. Don't talk near Draco Malfoy, you continued. If you do any of these things, his father will hear about it, Harry said. You laughed at Harry's remark. You didn't get how someone could think so highly of himself. Not that it's always a bad thing. Having confidence is great, but thinking you're better than everyone isn't. He was taking it too far. Yet you did feel interested in him. There must be more to it than a daddy's boy. Not that you wanted to know. It would only lead to problems. Also, you didn't want to have anything to do with a guy who was like that. The entrance of Hogwarts came closer. You smiled, and when you walked inside, you realized how cold it was outside.